Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 21st, and today we're just going to dive right into it. We've got an Arctic boundary moving down the sound right now, and this is kind of localized over Whidbey and Camano Island this morning, and this feature is sliding off to the west now. Port Townsend and Olympic Peninsula are probably going to see some snow showers coming onshore soon. You can see that cloud band here, this feature, this where these northerlies are kind of meeting with the very weak southerlies through the Puget Sound here, and it's dropping some pretty heavy snowfall in some of the areas here. I'm going to show some pictures here in a minute. Checking out the Olympics, if you're on the southwest side, it's actually pretty sunny right now. They're getting kind of the reverse. They're getting the rain shadows on the reverse side today, southwest side. And you can see there's a little bit of easterly component here. So some of this downsloping off the Cascades might, limit some of the showers and the snowfall that falls around the Seattle metro. But some of the peninsula might be getting some snowfall here in the next few hours, as well as out towards Port Townsend, like I said, and Port Angeles. But there's some pretty heavy totals going on underneath this band right now. And you can see these northerlies coming down the Puget Sound, Bellingham out of the northeast, the Fraser River Valley Gap winds are going, and it's picking up moisture, and that's traveling across the sound. It's going to bring the snow to Port Angeles area now. And you can see temperatures generally just above freezing, but if you get underneath any of these showers, it can easily drop the temperature below freezing. And that's what's happened across Whidbey Island, Camano Island, for example. And Lake Goodwin, a buddy of mine sent in this picture here. Looks like they got several inches of snow. I mean, that looks like 5-6 inches of snow out there. And then this is Whidbey Island here. And again, this is Camano Island, 8 inches of snow. So you can see how easy it can be if you get under the right conditions here. If you're underneath these convergence zones as they move through, you can get some pretty heavy snowfall. So again, this is tapering off now for Camano Island, Whidbey Island. This is sliding off to the west towards the Kitsap Peninsula and Port Angeles. So let's check out what's going on here. This is the European, and you can see this feature here. This was shown on late last night's run, the southerlies, and then you can see the northerlies start to meet up with that here too. And then you could see this is where the convergence was going on as these northerlies kind of started pushing down the Puget Sound here. And this is now crossing the water towards the Olympic Peninsula. And then notice that wind shift here. And this is what's going on now. Some of the models had the feature a little bit further south, and most of that snowfall fell up north here, as you saw Lake Goodwin, Whidbey Island area. And then you can see the outflow winds get really going pretty well this evening, and these will eventually flow down the sound. And as these northerlies get stronger down through the sound, I was wondering if there would be some convection on the north side of this, or maybe some small hail showers. But we'll have to see how that goes this afternoon. But models show the precipitation is tapering off by that point. So here's last night's run, and we're going to back this up a little bit more here. You can see that it had the UW model had it. Let's go to about when it was snowing this morning there. It had the feature a little bit further south down across the Puget Sound, but it got hung up more northerly like we talked about. So as we put this into motion here, you can see how this kind of dries out as this Arctic boundary finally gets through the sound, but it does have some residual showers hanging on later on into this evening. So we'll have to see how that comes through. These northerlies sometimes can push a little bit of convection down with them through this afternoon. There might be still some cape around as well. So we'll have to watch out, see how that develops. And now this is what's been going on. Here's that trough that opened up over us. And you can see this is what we're dealing with now. A little bit of reinforcing shot, just enough convergence at the surface to get up and tap that really cold air aloft and bring that snow level down to the surface and bring some heavy snow in places. Anything over 4 inches in the Puget Sound is considered heavy snow. And then you'll notice that kind of move off, and we're going to dry out really well coming into midweek here. And we're going to get some strong offshore flow, and we're going to really cool down overnight. Seattle's supposed to get down into the mid and low 20s. So there's going to be some areas down in the teens in western portions of Washington, Oregon, and you're going to get single digits in the eastern portions of the state. And we'll take a closer look at that too. And some of the models didn't handle that quite as well right now. Like this is the HRRR currently. Let's see if there's an updated run. There is. And you can see it actually has it. It's initializing it a little bit better here. You can see some of that precipitation. The coverage just isn't as much as the radar here. You can see this is current. And you can see Port Townsend now starting to get the snowfall as it moves off of Camano Island, off of Whidbey Island, away from the Arlington, Marysville area as this pushes off to the west. And you can see these outflow winds coming through the Fraser River Gap here, kind of forcing, like a modified Arctic boundary as it forces this moisture up towards Port Angeles now. And it looks like there's some snow reports coming in from there as well. And as you can see, generally the Seattle metro area is snow free for now. We're just missing this area, but these winds are going to start to force down out of the north here through later this morning and afternoon. And maybe that will bring it'll bring probably some light snow showers, or maybe just plain old snow rain mix, or maybe some small hail, maybe a little convection as we go on through this afternoon. But you can kind of see that feature as it slides to the west here. So Kitsap Peninsula might be in for some snowfall here later this morning. And we'll jump right back into, let's look at the earlier HRRR and kind of see what it calls for. And you can see how the moisture just kind of cuts off as this Arctic boundary gets pushed south of us. And there's some residual showers, mainly Seattle south. And you can see Western Oregon still getting that strong onshore flow just ahead of these northerlies, this really cold air aloft. So I wouldn't be surprised to continue to see small hail reports going on. But check this out. Maybe on into this afternoon and evening, there still could be some convection around the sound. As you can see, this residual moisture gets pushed down from north to south across the region. And you can even see some upslope flow going on into this evening and tonight for Port Angeles, and maybe some residual showers across the North Sound there. Now here's the Cape values. And as we go into this afternoon, you can see we've got some convective available potential energy. So when these northerlies come down the sound, it's not out of the question for an isolated lightning strike still through western Washington, right? And into western Oregon even. So heads up for that. This is the NAM 3KM, and you can see it's got this feature pretty well. You can see the yellow there, probably highlighting some of the heavy snow that was falling around the region there. And you can see that pushing off to the west, and then it kind of dries us out pretty quick, but still some residual showers around. We'll see. Maybe there'll be a lightning strike up in the foothills here as this comes through. And then still some showers lingering on through this evening up north, similar to the HRRR, where this pushes us up against the Olympic Mountains and maybe continues the snowfall across the Port Angeles area. Now, taking a look at what we're dealing with on the larger scale here, here's the temperature at 2,500 feet. You can see this cold air that came out over us. This is about currently right now, 7 a.m. this morning. And as we go into Monday afternoon, you'll notice this cold air really pushed down over the region and really infiltrates eastern Washington, eastern Oregon pretty well. And it's locked in over portions of Montana, east of the Rockies through Canada, and in central British Columbia, also very cold into Tuesday morning. And Wednesday morning, you can see it actually spreads out over into the western portions of the state even better. So we're going to be really chilly on Wednesday morning. Check out this cold air just flowing off the coast here and just bringing it back into Southern California as you see it settle all the way down through the mountainous west as well. And then looks like a system will be approaching this next weekend, and we'll take a closer look at that here in a minute. Now, here are the winds at about 2,500 feet also. So this is now, you can see the Fraser River outflow starting. We saw that on the radar imagery here. So that lines up well. And you still see some weak southerlies to the South Puget Sound. And then you can see later this morning, the offshore flow gets going pretty good as you see kind of the little meso low dropping down over southwest Washington towards northwest Oregon here. And you see the northeast winds really start to ramp up across portions of eastern Washington there. Going to be pretty chilly, especially into Tuesday morning. Look at some of these winds just blasting through here. Fraser River Gap is really pumping the air across. You can see it flowing off the continent of central BC here too, just north of Vancouver Island, is this cold air flowing all the way down the North American west coast. And you can see some gap winds going on here, bringing through the Stampede Gap, coming through the gorge here on Tuesday morning. And that continues into Tuesday evening. And check this out, it doesn't die down really until very early Wednesday morning, and still we're getting these powerful offshore winds going. And then it tapers off a lot on Wednesday night as we start to get this next system. Looks like a system coming down out of the northwest. We'll take a look at that closely. And it even reinforces that Fraser River flow there for a bit here too. So that might be worth looking at. Let's go ahead and check that out. So that's kind of interesting. That was something that wasn't showing up in the models yesterday, and kind of surprising me here. But you can see Thursday early morning, just a little, it'd be mostly very light snow, but it might make for a nice scene in some areas. And you can see there's some more upslope flow signal there going into Thursday morning for Port Angeles area of the Olympics as that weak system slides by. Let's check out last night's system too, and or last night's run. Did it show that at all? Just much weaker system. But anyway, as we go on into next weekend, there is a stronger front approaching. And the longer we wait, the more this air mass is going to modify, and it's going to reduce the chances of any of this precipitation starting as anything frozen. So very low confidence in the next system coming in as snowfall for portions of Western Washington or Oregon here. But we'll keep our eye on that. Looking at Seattle-Tacoma, the ensemble runs, you can see Wednesday morning is probably going to be the coldest. Looks like down into the mid and lower 20s. Some of the ensembles have it into the upper teens even. And you can see Tuesday morning is going to be pretty chilly too, probably down into the upper 20s. Thursday morning also very chilly. And then Friday morning again, when the wind dies down a bit, if we get any kind of clearing especially, we could be down into the mid to lower 20s again, and for Saturday morning. So pretty chilly week coming up here. Highs only getting up towards 40 degrees, maybe lower 40s, depending on how much sunshine we get. Looking at Bellingham here, you can see they don't get quite as cold. I think that's probably because the wind's going to be going on, but the ensemble members are in pretty good agreement. They're going to get to the lower 20s here for Wednesday morning. And then, chilly mornings on in through Saturday as we start to warm up on into this weekend. Check out Spokane. Tuesday, Wednesday morning, single digits, almost down to, getting close to 0 Fahrenheit here. As we go on to Friday, Saturday, you can still see they do not get above freezing all the way through this weekend. So Spokane is going into the ice box through this weekend. Here's Portland. Check out how cold they're going to get Wednesday morning. Looks like the ensemble mean is just down into the upper teens there. There's even some outlying members that have it getting to single digits in Portland. They do have that better access to that cold air through that sea level gap through the gorge. And as that comes through, because Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon are going to be pretty cold. So that cold air is going to probably be able to come in a little bit easier than it does for Seattle. Seattle, we have terrain off to our east and no sea level gap. Stampede Gap is fairly low relative to the Cascades, but it's still, when that air passes through the Cascades, it does warm up a bit as it gets to Seattle versus Portland. That's why you're seeing some of these members with these single digits here. And you can see Portland stays pretty chilly on Thursday. It doesn't even look like it is going to get, well, Thursday might get above freezing barely, but Wednesday does not look like it gets above freezing for Portland. And you can see these chilly morning lows going on in through the weekend. Now looking on the extended a little bit here, you can see our system move off there. Then we're going to be nice and chilly all week as that next system kind of brushes us. And that's that one that kind of shows up a little bit more in last night's run. So that's the next system we're talking about, that little north flow coming right there. Might increase the Fraser River outflow briefly with that passage of that system. And here's the temperature at 5,000 feet. Just so we can kind of watch this take over the west coast there. And you can really see it settle over the Pacific Northwest, especially entrenching itself east of the Cascades here. And most notably east of the Rockies as well. So looking at 10,000 feet here too, this shows up even a little bit better. There at 10,000 feet isn't as restricted by terrain as much. And you can see it flow all the way down into Southern California and kind of skirts the California or the USA-Mexico border there. As in there, the next system, you can kind of see it in that upper air temperature brush Washington and Oregon there. As our next system tries to get close off the coast here by this weekend, but we're probably going to start modifying for portions west of the Cascades, like I said. And here's the sea level pressure. So this is what we're dealing with. This is currently about 11 a.m. according to last night's European run. Actually, let's update this. There we go. Now that's probably why this snow occurred. We do have the better troughing versus last night's run over Western Washington. You can see that good gradient there. So that cold air was seeping through and kind of meeting up with those weak southerlies or just pushing into the air in place. And it caused that heavy snow for areas north of Seattle. And you can see this high pressure settle over the region here as we go into Thursday. And that next system doesn't even really show up on the surface map here. It's mostly an upper level feature, it looks like. And you can see high pressure just entrenched over the region as we get these offshore winds through this week and we get very cold. So let's go ahead and update this. Let's make sure this is updated here, and let's watch the progression of this. You can see it pushing off of Camino Island towards Port Angeles. So I'll check out Twitter and see what people are reporting, but it's probably some snow coming on to Port Angeles now. And there's probably snow falling here as well. Mixed rain and snow reported there. So there's some mixed rain and snow reported there. So it could change over to all snows, especially on the backside of these as these northerlies push down. This cooler air filtering into the region here. And some dense fog even reports coming on here. So I don't know. I don't think the metro is going to see a lot of snow today. You might see some small hail or some snow mixed in as the front moves down through this afternoon, if it sets up just right with these northerlies moving down the sound. But I don't expect any snow accumulations in the Seattle metro today. And again, we'll take a look at this and let's update this and try to see what's going on here. But yeah, you can plainly see this feature, these northerlies and this little Arctic mesoscale low as it moves down the Puget Sound here. Looks like it's just going to miss the Seattle metro area. And you can see that colder air swinging off the coast of BC and kind of back into Western Oregon here. A lot of convective showers still going on here. Probably some small hail along the Oregon coast. I know I had some reports of small hail going off and on during the day on the Oregon coast yesterday. Probably going to be the same thing again today. And then that's going to translate into a lot of snow for the Oregon Cascades. As you can see, the northern Cascades of Washington have really cleared out. Now you can see that fresh snow that's fallen up there. There's probably some residual snow still going on in the southern Cascades as we speak. But right now that onshore flow is probably giving the Oregon Cascades their fair share of snowfall, as well as the coastal range there for Oregon is probably getting decent amounts of snow as well. But yeah, I just wanted to go over this, and you can see that northeast wind flowing out and very weak, light and variable winds generally across the sound right now as we're generally into the mid and upper 30s now through the southern Puget Sound. So the ground is going to be just a little too warm, and this push isn't that severe where it's going to just drop the temperature below freezing in the Seattle area later this morning and afternoon. So best chance for some action is probably in some convective activity as it pushes down the sound, some small hail, maybe an isolated lightning strike somewhere along it through the central sound, mainly Seattle south, I would guess, but it's still a chance anywhere really in the Puget Sound south of Everett, for example. And as we look on into the Oregon coast, not a lot of wind readings there, but you can still see the southerlies going on through the Willamette Valley here. It's still pretty chilly, only in the upper 30s. So the Cascades are getting their good dump of snowfall as we speak. But again, if you guys are just joining me here, the Camino Island area, Lake Goodwin, Whidbey Island area got some pretty heavy snowfall. There were some reports up to 8 inches falling, and this feature is kind of moving off to the west here. Port Angeles, Port Ludlow, down towards Seebeck and Silverdale. Maybe Port Angeles will get some snow off and on during the day today as these northeast winds are coming across the Puget Sound. So yeah, these are some images from earlier too. It looks like at least 6 inches there. Lake Goodwin, Whidbey Island, Camino Island here, over 8 inches of snow possibly. You can see it was pretty heavy, wet snowfall there. So yeah, we'll look at this tomorrow. We'll check out some of these temperatures that are going to come during the week, and we'll check out this next system on Thursday. Maybe it'll bring some light snow across the region on Thursday, just depending on how cold we are. We're going to have cold air in place at that point, so we'll get some flurries, and maybe it'll make for a nice scene across western Washington, western Oregon, or even eastern portions of the state. So, all right, if you guys are out there up north, enjoy that snowfall, and you guys in the Puget Sound, watch for any kind of convective activity sliding from northwest to south through the afternoon. If you're in Oregon, watch these showers coming on shore here with small hail. And of course, if you're in the Oregon Cascades, big snows falling today as the snow tapers off through western Washington Cascades. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Check back on Twitter for updates.